A day in the life of Princess Alice. Grief, germs, and Gothic tragedy in Darmstadt, aka the one who knew too much, loved too deeply, and had a tragedy every Tuesday. Welcome back to Past People, the series where we rummage through royal letters, peek behind palace curtains, and cry into lace handkerchiefs because apparently no one in this family was allowed peace. Today, we're diving into a full day in the life of Princess Alice, Queen Victoria's second daughter, the most intelligent of the bunch, and the one who suffered more Gothic trauma than the entire cast of a Bronte novel. This is not your typical fairy tale. It's Darmstadt, it's domesticity, and it's death, with a little disinfectant and a lot of grief. Let's begin. Waking up in Weimar Gothic realness. Time, 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Princess Alice wakes early, very early, because she's got 6 kids, a chronically ill husband, several philanthropic foundations, and the weight of all her siblings' emotional messes on her back. The bedchamber is cold. This is the Grand Duchy of Hesse, not Windsor. No bustling staff, no endless luxury. Just an aging mattress, some practical lace, and the sound of someone coughing in the hallway. Probably one of her kids. Alice wraps a shawl around her shoulders, because her immune system is barely hanging on, and checks the basin. She's still spitting blood. Lovely. We are by this point into the final tragic act of her life, and she knows it. She doesn't tell anyone. She has far too much to do. Breakfast with the traumatized. Time, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Breakfast is taken quickly. There are 6 children around the table, including young Marie, her baby, the one who was named after her dead sister and seems destined for heartbreak. Her husband, Louis, the Grand Duke of Hesse, is sweet, but honestly, a bit of a himbo. He tries, bless him, but Alice is the one running this house, running this duchy, running herself into the grave. She sips weak coffee, offers her children a slice of fruit bread, and thinks about the letters she has to answer. One is from Queen Victoria. Of course it is. Today's edition includes emotional guilt, complaints about Bertie's gambling, demands for more frequent letters, and passive-aggressive reminders that Alice married below her station. Duty, death, and disinfectant. Time, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Alice spends her mornings managing everything: the household, the court, the sick. She is a hands-on philanthropist, deeply involved in nursing reform, having learned directly from Florence Nightingale during the Crimean War. She works with hospitals. She helps bury cholera victims. She even visits dying children. Yes, personally. She doesn't flinch from blood, vomit, or death. What does hurt is when the court in Darmstadt gossips about her, calling her too English, too clever, too outspoken. But she endures it, because someone has to. By late morning, she's drafting notes for the Red Cross and managing child illness number 4 of the day. Letters from a distant mother. Time, 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Back at her writing desk, more letters. She replies to Queen Victoria in perfect English, smoothing over the emotional landmines and trying not to cry. She writes to Vicky in Berlin, her sister, her closest confidant, and her intellectual equal, about philosophy, the state of the world, and the endless illness that stalks her house like a shadow. She writes to Princess Helena, urging her to continue nursing training. She writes to Bertie, begging him to behave. She writes to Beatrice, who's probably stuck to their mother's side like a corset. And then she writes in her journal, because there's no therapist in 1878, and Alice has no one to talk to but the page. And in that moment she contracts the same infection. The last good-night time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The house is dim, morning has begun, Alice drags herself to the remaining children's bedsides. They ask where Marie is. She cannot speak. Her own fever begins. The sore throat, the exhaustion, the dizziness. She tries to hide it. She tries to function, but her body is finished. She asks for her journal. She makes one final entry. She tells her older children not to cry. She tells Louis to be strong. She doesn't tell her mother, not yet. Your loving child, Alice. Time, 8 p.m, midnight. Alice lays in bed, drifting in and out of consciousness. The candles flicker. Outside, snow begins to fall across Darmstadt. Inside, the palace is silent. She dies on December 14th, the exact anniversary of her father Prince Albert's death, a symmetry that would devastate Queen Victoria. She dies quietly, gently, still young, still full of ideas, still entirely too good for the world she lived in. She was 35 years old. Princess Alice was never crowned, never celebrated, never given the royal treatment she deserved, but she was, without question, one of the most intelligent, most compassionate, and most tragic members of Queen Victoria's entire family. She believed in science, in service, in love, and when death came, she faced it the way she lived her life, with grace and courage, and the unflinching honesty of a woman who knew far too much about suffering and kept loving anyway.